Good morning, everyone. It's Friday and it's almost the weekend, and we have a new fusion. This is the July fusion, and we also have a 10x going on. So I'm just going to talk quickly about the patch which we just got. So, news, new update. There really isn't that much to talk about. You can now summon void shards 10 ago, right? So you save a lot of time. Like if you have a lot of void shards, like 200, 300, you save an insane amount of time. But if you are free to play like me and you have like 10, 20, 30, it doesn't really make that much difference. Hey, you can still summon them individually, even if you wanted, right? So it's not a big deal. Um, the advanced missions summon Gomlock Skyhide has been moved to later part. That makes more sense logically, but in reality, it won't make any difference because the maxing the glyphs 30, 40, and 50 missions will be obviously the choke points for I think almost everyone. I mean, unless you've been playing this game at end game, but not actually used any glyphs for the past year, then you probably actually have enough. But if you've been like changing your champions, building stuff, glyphing them, optimizing them for arena, you have nothing like me, right? So I think that's the choke point. I don't think there's all of these things seem to me at least quite minor. Maybe they are actually quite important. I just never noticed or I haven't paid attention. But yeah, I think it's okay. And then there will be a new fragment event, which they will show us the details a few hours later. Okay, so there is a 10x gonna be happening in a bit. The portal will light up. And one of the most common questions people ask others and themselves is, should I pull during 10x? I mean, even I struggle with this question a lot because it depends on a few things, right? Number one, it depends on chance. Like, how do you value 10x? Because it's 1x in terms of legendary rates, but 10x boosted for specific champions, right? This is made more complicated by the fact that it's 10x not for one champion, but often we call it poisoned or shared with many other champions that you may not actually want, and they compete. So actually, it's not just a pure 10x. It's actually more like 5x. No, I'm joking. But the question really is, when should you pull for 2x and when should you pull for 10x? And I want to tell you the right mathematical answer, right? But also factoring your actual account. So this is a simple way to think about it. And I've done the calculation for you for non-voids and voids. The answer is actually somewhat similar. So basically, if the 10x, doesn't matter if it's singular or poisoned, is on a champion, you must have. Like Valkyrie is a must have, right? I can decide that for you. If you don't have a Valk, you should pull during this 10x, irrespective of what else you need, right? It doesn't really matter. Because of Valk is transformative from early to end game account, right? If you don't have a Valk, there is no replacement for a Valk, right? No one has this passive, right? That this champion's turn meter will be increased by 10% each time an enemy places a buff. Enemy champions will have their turn meters decreased by 10% each buff they receive. It is huge. Like if Siphi or some of the many other new champions like Brogni buff someone with 3 buffs or 2 buffs, they're going to have their turn meter reduced by 30%, subject to an accuracy check, of course. And she's going to have her turn meter boosted massively. 30% is... It's hard to do this calculation because you've got to think about the whole turn meter, which is like, 1,400, and then you've got to think about speed. But it's like very roughly like 60 speed, or maybe even a bit more. That's giving her 60 speed and letting everyone else lose the equivalent of 60 speed. It is crazy. She has one of the biggest shields. Most shields, for example, Sonic, who is also, one of the 10x fusions, but on the void side, right? Most shields do this, like they do some damage to everybody, and then say the shield is 30% of the damage inflicted, right? And Sonic 30% is actually a high number, right? If you compare him to, for example, the recent Helio, is 20%, which is tiny, right? Or if you compare to like Miscreated Monster, I think it's 25%. Yeah, 25%. So you see, it's actually, Valk effectively does like full kind of damage with her proportional to her defense, and her base defense is huge, 1,000, almost 1,600. You can get her to 6,000, 7,000 defense quite easily, especially for PvE. And that shield will absorb a lot of the clan boss damage, a lot of the kind of like harder kind of PvE content damage. And then on top of that, okay, she has a good aura for fashion crypts, right? If you're struggling with that. She attacks one enemy 2 times, a default A1, decreases turn meter by 10% on each hit, so 20% if the target has any buffs. Crazy, 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 crazy good ability. One of the best A1s, apart from Siphi, I would say. Like one of the top 5 A1s, definitely. So she is an excellent counterattack, turn meter, manipulator that protects allies with insane shields. I mean, you can't really ask for more than that, really. Love her graphics. So if you're pulling for this 10x, and you should if you don't have Valk, you should pull. Like you should pull all your sacreds and ancients. But generally speaking, right? Generally speaking, when should you pull? The rule I've calculated, unless I've made an error, but I don't think I have, is around the number 7. 7 is a magical number for voids and non-voids. How does this work? It means that if there is a singular 10x, right? You want to ask yourself, how many top champions am I missing from either voids or non-voids? If that number is above 7, you should do 2x. If that number is below 7, you should do 10x, right? Of that champion, of the champions you need, right? So for example, I am missing Trunda, for example, right? And if there was a Trunda 10x, I will pull no matter what, because she is a special champion, right? Even if the rates were really against me, even if I'm missing lots of other things. But for example, I am also missing like Ignatius and Biggin, right? If there was an Ignatius 10x, I would think, am I missing 10? Am I missing 7 other top champions? And I think I am. I think I'm missing 8 or 9, right? Like Biggin, Ignatius, and a few others. Lysandra. And I would say, no, I wouldn't. No matter how much I want Ignatius, I wouldn't pull during 10x, because 2x, I'm likely to get Ignatius or some other champion I need. But if the number of champions I need is less than 7, like 5 or 3, go for 10x. The harder question is, what happens if the 10x is poisoned? Like, for example, what happens if it's Ignatius and then Guptuk or War Mother? Often your 10x is poisoned on the non-voice side by a champion that's really good with 2 other champions not very good. Well, it turns out in those cases, it's never worth it. Like, you have to only need 1 champion. Like, for example, I only need Ignatius. I need nothing else. Then, of course, 10x is better. Like, 10x, even if it's poisoned really badly, tends to be better. But generally speaking, don't pull on 10x unless it's a champion like Trunda or Valk or Rotos or something really transformative. And generally, if you just need something that you don't have, don't pull on 10x. Because chances are there's more than 7 of these things that you probably would use, you don't really care, but it's something you don't have and you'd be happy to have. 10x is such a bait. Like, don't pull on 10x, right? Same for voids, actually. It's the same rule. The probability distribution is completely different for voids because there's fewer voids, etc., etc. So 10x is more transformative. 10x tends not to be poisoned. I think it has happened before. Like, they did Hegemon and another void champion. I think they did Hegemon and Solus at the same time, I think. For them, it's the same. It's also the magical number 7, right? If you have 7 void champions, void legendaries that you really, really need, go for 2x. This includes dupes, by the way. Sometimes you want a dupe Hegemon or a dupe Siphi, right? If you need more than 7 champions, whether unique or dupes, go for 2x. If you need less than 7, like you only need Necrit, and you only need Necrit and Siphi, then 10x for either one. Even if it's slightly poisoned, it's fine. I think you should go for 10x. That's the rule. 7. Just remember the number 7 and count the number of champions you really, really need, right? If it's below 7, go for 10x. If it's above 7, go for your normal 2x, just like a new player. That's it. That's my contribution. Hopefully you find that useful. You can worry about the calculation later. You can ask me in comments. How do they actually do it is when they do like a 10x, say there's like 100, for example, non-void legendaries, right? They add 9 extra. So the original Valk plus 9 copies of Valk into the pool. So now there are 10 Valks, right? 10x divided by 109 champions, right? Rather than the original 100. So they enlarge in the champion pool. They put artificial Valks in there, basically. Of course, if it's a poisoned one, so it's Valk and Alton and Minea, I think, then they'll put 9 more Altons and 9 more Mineas, right? So now the pool is much larger. There are also lots of Altons and lots of Mineas floating around. So actually, the chance of getting Valk is actually quite low. It's not high at all. But Valk is so transformative. Like, you don't have to follow the 7 rule, right? In order to pull for Valk, right? Because Valk is transformative. But if you wanted Alton, no. Like, if you had Valk, you had Minea, you wanted Alton, do not pull for this 10x. It is really not worth it, right? I'm sure there's a few other champions you need as well. And the rates for 10x are just too bad. Okay, I mean, that's it. I don't really have any